Well, we've been to the seaside. Now we're in the forest. From Zandvoort to the forests of the Eifel region. Nürburgring, to be precise. The classic Nürburgring. It is race one of the weekend. 2 races this weekend here at the Nürburgring for the ADAC GT4 Germany. It is race 7 of this 12 race season. We are into part 2 of the season after the summer break that has just finished. Conditions are absolutely perfect. 19.4 degrees centigrade is the air temperature, and it is hotting up in the atmosphere. It's also hotting up out on the track. That is the car that starts on pole position. It is Marcel Lenez in the Piro Sports Toyota GR Supra, a car that has proven to be very rapid indeed, and he starts on pole position. Alongside him, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, the 2020 GT4 champion in the Avia W&S Motorsport Porsche 718 Cayman. The very impressive Vincent Andronacco, an unusually coloured car there, the number 22 Porsche, lining up third on the grid, not the normal blue colours that we normally see for Allied Racing, and they had to rebuild that car after the Spa 24-hour race last weekend. That car lines up third on the grid, but keep an eye on fourth. Mike David Ortmann in the Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin Vantage. He's sharing driving duties with Hugo Sasser, and they are on a roll. They had a fairly quiet start to the season by their standards, but suddenly they have come alive. They have won the last 2 races, and they are now up to second in the points championship. They are just 5 points behind Indy Doncher and Phil Durr in the number 69 car. Indy Doncher and Phil Durr, well, Phil Durr qualified it, are starting a long way down the grid. They're starting in 12th position, so they've got a bit of work to do from there if they want to keep that lead in the championship race. The GT4 grid, it is getting larger and larger by every meeting, and there are a significant number of new cars on the grid. Plenty to talk about as this race goes along. It is race 7 of the season, and it's looking very exciting, isn't it, Adam Weller?
Very much so, yes. It's been a compelling season so far. As you say, every time we arrive to a new circuit, there seems to be a new awning somewhere. And there's plenty of them this time, as well as a few returnees. Gabriel Piana there in 6th place on the grid, the defending championship car with the number 1. It's been anything but smooth sailing for them so far this year, though. They're not even the top 5 of the championship at this stage.
And who thought that would be the case, because they won 2 races this year already, but they've had a non-finish, and Zandvoort really wasn't very special for them at all. As we look at some of the other cars on the grid, just to tell you about some of the new drivers that we have. Pro Sport are fielding a new Aston Martin, a 3rd Aston Martin, Donna Munding and Leon Wasserferrer. Leon, who we've seen kind of moving about a little bit, but Donna Munding, who's in the Prototype Cup, was 2nd in the race here at the Nürburgring a couple of weeks ago, but he joins the ranks of the GT4. Overdrive Racing, the Bulgarian team, also fielding an extra car, a 3rd one. Alex Stefanov, who raced at Sachsenring in 2020, and Andre Bruckmann alongside him. And CV Performance also introducing a 3rd car with Philip Denez, the Californian, alongside Philip Gogolok. There you go, I feel I get there in the end, who comes from karting. We welcome back Schnitzelam Racing. You can see them on the screen now. Marcel Marchevitz and Marek Bockmann are now sharing the same car, as opposed to being in different Schnitzelam cars. But Yves Volter and Roland Frusser are in the sister car together for Schnitzelam Racing. The only other change that I can tell you about is Robin Falkenbach, who replaces Nico Gruber at Drago Racing Team ZVO. And also Lucas Maron in the CV Performance Mercedes, who is replacing Ricardo Dott. And if you remember all that lot, you're a better man than me. I had it written down and I still couldn't work it all out. We're looking at the cars on the grid, getting ready, and we will be racing very shortly. We are a little bit delayed on the start of this race. Porsche Carrera Cup Germany, which has just finished. We had a spectacular rollover in that. You want to check that one out on replay if you get the opportunity. So the track has just been cleaned up. Pleased to say there is no injuries or anything like that, so that's all good. But we will be getting this race underway very shortly. We're looking at Ewan Mackay in the number 6 Racing 1 Aston Martin Vantage GT4, and he sharing driving duties with Tom Wood. I was chatting to Tom yesterday, and they were just saying they really want to get their season back on track. They came so close to winning on their debut at Oschersleben at the start of the season. Since then, they've had a 3rd place, but have struggled to really trouble the podium positions as we look at Julian Hanses, a driver who comes from Porsche Carrera Cup Germany into GT4 Germany this year, sharing with Theo Overhaus, and he is one to watch. That is a potent combination starting in the first third of the grid. I'm rabbiting away about drivers. It's all to play for, isn't it? There is Phil Durr, the number 69 car, and he is our championship leader, starting 12th on the grid, and he is sharing with the legendary Indy Doncha.
Yes, of course, Indy, such a talented driver, no matter what you put him in the GT scene. Just to say as well, keep an eye on that 24 car in particular, that, of course, being the Pro Sport entry of Mike David Ortman and Hugo Sasser. That car does have 15 kilos of ballast on it. It's up there 4th on the grid.
Yeah.
And my senses are tingling that that might be the head of a very long train if the 15 kilos proves to be a bit of a hindrance to Mike in the early stages. These GT4 cars have been really exciting and great value for money all year long.
I want what Stefan Bostanciev has, and that is a man to wave my car door at me when the weather's hot, to keep me cool.
A man as a fan.
A man is... Oh, that's very good in there. Look, he looks like he's going to be fired out of a cannon with that helmet on, doesn't he? So, yeah... Thanks to Cannon for that, and Stefan Bostanciev, the coolest dude on the grid, because he's the only one who has somebody to actually keep him cool. So I would just mention Stefan Bostanciev, who is sharing driving duties with Pavel Lefterov. And there's a little bit of changing going on here. I think maybe some cars have come to the grid in the wrong order. But Lefterov and Bostanciev have been very rapid, and they haven't really had the results. As 6th place at Red Bull Ring was the best that they've seen so far, but they are better than what the results are showing on the whole, and Bostanciev was at the top of the timing sheets in free practice. Keep an eye on the number 23 car because he's going forwards. There is the most unusual looking car on the grid. Tell us about the KTM Crossbow, Adam.
Well, the KTM Crossbow is actually almost 14 years old at this point. Well, in fact, it was a 2008 release, this car. It's been evolved over many, many years. It was in GT4 competition as soon as 2009, would you believe it? Albeit not with that canopy that you can distinctively see on the left side of the grid there, or indeed camera's right, if you will. It's a car that has been worked on for a long time. It's powered by a very small 2-litre, if memory serves me correctly, Audi turbo engine. So it is one of the smaller power plants on the grid. Very unique little Austrian machine. It's one of those cars that you can tell has been built by a bike manufacturer. There's a lot of motorcycle... What's the word I'm looking for? Not parts, but philosophy.
Philosophy.
That was the word I was looking for.
And they've ditched the rear wing as well, haven't they?
They did.
You were telling us about this at Oschersleben.
They did. They removed the rear wing for the Evo spec, which is... I've been trying to think of precedent for a move that gives you less downforce on an Evo kit. It is quite unique, but it has been done with thought for car balance and setup. There's a bit of a divide among KTM teams as to whether it's worked, but it is certainly interesting in this day and age to see a GT4 car without a proper large rear wing on it, because the GT4s have become ever more racy over the years. If you look at the early photos from 2007 or so, when they debuted the category, the cars looked like road cars. Some of them even had number plates on them. And it's not quite like that anymore, really. The cars have stepped on a little bit over the years.
Fantastic. There you go. A little history lesson during this delayed start. We will be underway in about about 3 minutes. That's when the formation lap is due to start. Just to remind you of the Drivers' Championship, it's Indy Doncher and Phil Durr with 85 points. There is a 4-way tie for second, just 5 points behind Hugo Sasser, Mike David Ortman, Romain Leroux and Ben Durr. We haven't spoken about them yet. And Ben Durr, who is alongside Gabriel Piana, so that is on the no, he's not. He's on the row behind. He's 9th on the grid, so in a good position, but could do with being a little bit further up. So those 4 drivers tying just 5 points off the championship lead, and then 13 points off the championship lead, so not too far behind, are the defending champions, Gabriel Piana and Michael Schrey, so they are 3rd. And then we have Alex Hartwig and Moritz Viskersen, and they have 51 points, so 34 points adrift in 4th. And then Tom Wood and Ewan Mackay, the British duo, who are 36 points off the championship lead. They're not out of the running, but they need a bit of luck to go their way, currently loitering in 5th. In the Junior Championship, Hugo Sasser leads the way just by 6 points from Romain Leroux and Ben Durr. They are tied with 90 points, Hugo Sasser with 96. Alex Hartwig and Moritz Viskersen have 88, so they're 8 points off the championship lead. And then Stefan Bostanchiev with 35 points off, and Finn Zulauf 36 points off. I'm still going. In the team standings, it's Durr Motorsport who lead from Pro Sport Racing. They have 121 points. Pro Sport have 91. Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport, 3rd with 77. Finally, in the trophy category, it's Christian Koch and Tom Kiefer with 240. They are 28 points ahead of Joachim Bolting and Tano Neumann, with Yevgen Sokolovsky in 3rd place. He is 88.5 points adrift of the championship lead. That's enough stats to keep us going for a while. We're looking out of the windscreen of Vincent Andronacco. One of the sit-up and take notice moments of the year has been the debut in GT4 of Vincent Andronacco. He's very young, he's very talented, and he knows no fear. Starting from 3rd, he could do some damage from there. Engines are running. The ground starts to shake. The driver's doors are shut. The fan is removed from the track. And the drivers now focusing on the task ahead. It is a Toyota Supra who starts on pole position in the hands of Marcel Linez. He will be sharing driving duties with fellow German driver Cedric Pirot for Pirot Sports. And Nikolai Moller-Madsen, now he needs a good result, sharing with Finn Zulauf. His best result of the year so far was a 4th place in the season opener. The 2020 champion, though, has had 2 non-finishes, often has been in a result of being involved in other people's accidents. So 2nd on the grid. Good position to make a challenge. Right, here we go. Finally, formation lap is underway and the cars start around here. We're at the Nürburgring, a track that is 3.629 kilometers around. 11 turns, 4 to the left, 7 to the right. We're using the sprint circuit configuration, and overtaking not always easy. Here comes the starting grid, and it is Marcel Linez on pole position. Nikolai Moller-Madsen alongside row 2, Vincent Andronacco and Mike David Ortman. Row 3 of the grid is Jan-Philipp Springer and Gabriel Piana, of course, the defending champion in GT4 Germany. Row 4, Ben Durr for Durr Motorsport and Marek Bochmann. That'll be quite a strong combination with Marcel Malchowitz. Moritz Viskersen, Ewan Mackay on row 5 of the grid, and on row 6, Julian Hanses and Phil Durr, another of the many Durr Motorsport cars. Lucas Moron and Stefan Bostanchiev are on row 7 of the grid, and row 8 is Konstantin Lachnauer and Matej Pavlicek in the KTM Crossbow. We've heard all about that. Max Kronberg and Christian Koch make it an all-Porsche row 9, and row 10 is all Mercedes. Robert Haub, the American, is alongside Yves Volta. On row 11, Leon Vassetherer and Juliana Holzem, the Holzem twins, another of the Durr Motorsport cars, and then it's Tim Reiter and Andre Bruckmann on row 12 of the grid. Row 13, Lucas Meyer and Joachim Bolting for Overdrive Racing, and then on row 14 is Nico Handke, another of the Durr Motorsports cars, alongside Philip Gogolok. Then Patrick Steinmetz, he had a rubbish qualifying session this morning, and Alex Sartingen, they'll be looking to improve from there. Yevgen Sokolovsky, the Ukrainian driver, bringing up the rear of the pack for Pro Sport Racing in the Aston Martin. So, this formation lap, a good opportunity to get heat into the tyres. There is confirmation of the point standings. It could not be closer. It may well be very different once this race is finished. It's the first of 2 races this weekend. It is the halfway point of the season. Part 2 of the season is about to commence. A 12 race season for the ADAC GT4 Germany. It is a timed race, 60 minutes plus 1 lap. And here we come. The safety car very shortly will duck off into the pit lane, which you see on the left-hand side of your screen, or maybe it won't. Blimey, he left that late, didn't he? And here come the rest of the pack up towards turn 11. The aim will be to cross the line side by side, although I'm sure Marcel Lenez would very much like to be in front. Here they come. The sight of all of these GT4 cars that look spectacular. The 4 red lights will shortly go off and we will be ready to go racing. Stand by. It is race 7 of the season and it is go, and there's drama. It is Tom Wood who's turned around, Ewan Mackay even, who turns around, somehow keeps it all together. There was a collision from the other Aston Martin. How did we not have a multi-car crash there? I don't know, but it's Marcel Lenez who leads into turn 1, or does he? Vincent Andronacco, he backs off for nobody. He's in the 2nd place. Nikolai Moller-Madsen down to 3rd. Mike David Ortman is there as well. And now trouble for Andronacco. He makes contact with Moller-Madsen. He goes spinning. So Vincent Andronacco pointing the wrong way, and he watches the whole field go passing through.
Painful, painful stuff for Andronacco, and that must have been heart in the mouth for Ewan Mackay, pirouetting in the mid-pack. As you rightly say, Brian, I have no idea how that car didn't end up being collected. We did have one of the Allied Racing Porsches slowing down between turns 4 and 5. That's the 44 car that's gone missing. There's the 69 Aston Martin. That's Phil Durr.
That's our championship leader. So Phil Durr, and we saw him spearing across the track. I'm pretty sure it was this car that made contact with Ewan Mackay. It was certainly a green Aston Martin that we saw bouncing across, and it looks like he's got some damage, but this is very significant. Let's have a look here, and yes, there was another car, I'm trying to work out who that was, that made contact with the other of the Aston Martins, and you think it was Viscursion?
It would add up. I think Viscursion hasn't made it to the first sector split, that much is for sure, and
yes,
there you see the contact. So Viscursion, with what was quite minor contact, has actually ended up stranded between turns 4 and 5, but Durr also seemingly going no further.
Stefan Bostanciev, having bigged him up at the beginning of this race, is also involved in that, and he's still in 14th place at the moment. But that level of impact will probably have not done his car any favours. This is the view from Phil Durr's perspective. This might hurt slightly. Let's see. Waiting, and boof, up the back. Well, that was a hurry up. That wasn't the incident. That was another one. And then collection. But oof, that's going to sting, isn't it? And you can see Bostanciev there as well. Durr tries to rejoin, but clearly there is damage to that car. And his afternoon is over. A big moment in the championship. He's going to look back on this one, and potentially it's going to be a championship altering moment. And this is Andronacco, an entirely separate incident with Nikolai Moller-Madsen, and there was a gap on the inside. I think Andronacco tried to shut the door. Moller-Madsen said, no, I'm coming through. And then there was a bit of a tank slapper on for Andronacco, who ends up getting spat out and pointing in the wrong direction. Needless to say, take out the penalty zone, why don't you? Needless to say, the stewards have got a bit of work to do. They have a great perspective, and they will be looking at all of those incidents. At the moment, no problems, but if anything is awarded, we'll let you know. Meanwhile, there's a race going on. Marcel Lenez has a 2.2 second lead over Nikolai Moller-Madsen. Mike David Ortman in 3rd place, coming under pressure. Remember, Ortman is carrying that weight penalty, the success penalty, courtesy of the win at Zandvoort. And Gabriel Piana putting that BMW to good use and making a move on the Aston Martin.
Oh, very close stuff here between Piana and that 24 car of Ortmann. Ortmann demoted back down to 4th place then, and they've got to be a bit worried as well about who's behind. Springop there in the ZVO entered Mercedes AMG GT4, and the Aston of ADAC Motorsport also there. Another Mercedes from Schnitzelhaum following as well, as Springop forced into a bit of rally crossing there. Ortmann, as one expected, is heading quite a long queue of cars.
Yes, you did predict this, didn't you? And maybe this is why Gabriel Piana wanted to get past him quickly. And assuming they don't finish on the top step of the podium, I should think Ortmann will be really pleased to get that ballast and throw it somewhere in the bushes once this race is over, because that is no doubt hindering his progress. Jan-Philipp Springop in 5th place. Car's just bouncing over the chicane. There is the number 18, Mark Buchmann, and he getting together with Marcel Malchevich as a driving duo will be very strong. But Lanez, a 2.27 second lead over 2nd place. Make that, yes, well, 2.746. And then another 2 seconds back to Nikolai Moller-Madsen. So, and then back to Gabriel Piana. Mike David Ortmann dropping back through the pack. And he has got a long afternoon ahead of him, as indeed has Hugo Sasser, his teammate in that car. So, there is the 84 car. That's Moron that we were talking about earlier. He is here replacing Ricardo Dott, and Ferdinand Winter will be his co-driver. So the 84 car in 9th place, doing a good job there. Did a great job in qualifying, getting it up the grid. Tim Reiter in 10th place behind. And there is Stefan Bostanchiev after that start line incident. He kept it all in the right direction. And here comes our leader, a bit of a replay here. And we're going to see a bit of two-wheeling with Toyota Supra. And the Porsche says, call that two-wheeling, hold my drink, here we come. No, misses that curve completely. But here is our race leader, Marcel Lanez in the Toyota Supra, having another go at bouncing across the curbs. To remind you, this is a 1-hour race. There is a Jan-Philipp Springop didn't even try to take the chicane. To remind you, there is a mandatory pit stop and driver change for every car. They will need to visit the pits at some point. That point will be during the pit stop window. The pit stop window opens 25 minutes into the race and shuts 35 minutes into the race. And during that window, every car will need to visit the pits for mandatory stop and driver change. We see KTM and Mercedes going wheel to wheel. We see Mercedes and Aston Martin going wheel to wheel. So it's all happening out on track.
Very much so, and we see there that 007 car then of Ben Durr, and Bachmann just behind, trying to find a way in the Schnitzelhaum car. They'll be happy to be up into the top 10. Of course, they joined ADAC GT4 Germany for Oschersleben. They weren't with us in Zandvoort, but make a triumphant return here at the Nürburgring, a circuit that they know very, very well indeed from many years campaigning cars in the VLN and the Nürburgring 24-hour races. And great to see them back. Very distinctive, whether it's the lime car or indeed the one that's a little more orange. You don't tend to be able to miss them in a lineup.
And now challenging the 007 Bond theme car, being driven by Ben Durr in 6th place. This is Mike David Ortmann. That was Nikolai Moller-Madsen. Still thinks he's rally crossing, but continues on his way. Yes, Mike David Ortmann will be very pleased to get rid of that success of ballast at the end of this event, because Jan-Philipp Springop really is putting the pressure on. And this is another view of Nikolai Moller-Madsen monstering the chicane, and there is Gabriel Piana, and it is just spectacular. The Vidal chicane, I have never seen anybody just drive around it. It does appear to be straight line is the way forward, and hope the car holds together. They do build them strong, that is for sure. Piana up into a podium position, and closing in on Nikolai Moller-Madsen ahead. But Marcel Lanez really does seem to have a handle on this race at the moment. It's 3.2 seconds is that lead. Other drivers carrying success ballast, that will be the Ben Dur car, the 007 car, that has a ballast of 10 kilos. And car 31 under investigation for track limits at the chicane.
Shocking. Big line by the Madsen. Has he been off track at all?
No, I didn't see it myself.
Yes, there's a line when it comes to the Vidal chicane, and unfortunately, I think if you're avoiding the sausage curb by going left of it at turn 9, that might start to be a track limit violation.
It might be, I think.
You might want to be careful.
Other drivers carrying it back to success ballast. Other drivers carrying success ballast is Julian Hanses in the number 85 CV Performance Group Mercedes. He's just got 5 kilograms on account of finishing 3rd at Zandvoort last time out. So the 1, 2, 3 get a 15, a 10 and a 5 kilogram penalty retrospectively. We just saw what looked like a challenge for position. I think that might have been Bastanchiev challenging as they came bouncing through. And this is another challenge. It's Ben Dur with Marek Bokman lining up. This is the best overtaking opportunity into turn 1. There is a bump in the track which catches the drivers out many a time. We've seen so many drivers running into the runoff area. They all manage to slow it down and get it round the corner, in this instance up towards turn 2, where the track surface changes significantly. You can see the colour of the tarmac changes, and it's a completely different grip level, I'm told. Marek Bokman now looking hard at Ben Dur's 6th place, and he's looking to relieve him of that because Ben Dur, remember, having that 10 kilo success penalty on board as well.
Yeah, 15, 10 and 5 kilos is the amounts that they have on the cars. A bit less harsh than you see in some other categories. Of course, in GT Masters, the winning penalty is 20 kilos, so they're a little less harsh on the GT4 competitors. I do also want to note Vincent Andrinaco is up into the top 20 once more.
Wow.
And just taking a look here at the KTM, losing some bodywork. That's part of the front fascia gone on Pavlicek's car. In fact, that is the vanity panel that covers the suspension arms that he's just lost there, and unfortunately for him, the very light KTM has got a little bit lighter in the battle for 17th.
I think he's going to have to run over an awful lot of rubber at the end of the race to get to the minimum weight penalty at this rate. That is the Axel Sartingen car just taking a shortcut. Now, that bit of debris out on the track may be a problem, and it's not out of the question that we could see a safety car if that bit of debris is anywhere near the racing line. We could do with just pulling out slightly to see where it is. Thank you, Mr. Director.
Turn 3.
So turn 3, and if the race director, Sven Stopper, who does a great job here, if he thinks that car is likely to cause a puncture, he may well bring out a safety car to get it removed. And it does look to me to be in a fairly perilous position in terms of puncture creating. Of course, Marcel Lenez would be very happy not to have a safety car because he has a lead that last time across the line was 4.5 seconds over Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who's finally decided to come back to GT4 racing from his career in rallycross and holding on to second. Gabriel Piana trying to get the championship back on track, a good solid 3rd place. Mike David Altman doing well to hold on to 4th place in the number 24 Aston Martin, ahead of Jan Philipp Springhoff and Ben Dur in the 007 Aston Martin.
And of course, I mean, it would be not just the... Oh, we've got a full course yellow to get that piece of bodywork from the KTM, pick it up at turn 3.
So we didn't even mention full course yellow. I didn't even think that was going to happen. Normally only happens when the pit window is open. It means that the drivers all need to reduce their speed to 80 kilometers an hour. It effectively neutralizes the race, but doesn't force the drivers to close up the gaps. He's a brave man. Hey, come on, you can do it. And is he just a random spectator, or there's somewhere to park your bike as well? So there we go, put your trousers up, and that's going to go on the lounge wall when he gets home, I expect. So he doesn't look like a marshal to me.
I've never seen a marshal in jeans, I have to admit.
So the car's reduced down to 80 kilometers an hour, and in the full course yellow, it means that the gaps remain the same, and they should do in theory. Of course, any drivers that reach certain timing points ahead of when they should, and he was a marshal. So yes, it's well done, that man. One of the VLN team. Someone needs to buy him a belt for Christmas.
Yeah, I like the dress code here at the Nürburgring for the marshals.
It's all very casual. I think I might adopt that myself. And there goes Marcel Les back under green flag conditions. So the gap is up to 6.5 seconds. So either he has anticipated it well, or Nikolai Moller-Madsen has not anticipated it well. But that gap between first and second up to 6.5 seconds. The debris is removed, and it is Lenez from Moller-Madsen and Piana, Mike David Altman and Jan Philipp Springhoff, Ben Doer in the 007 car, and it is the fight between Bachmann, who has jumped past the 007 car. So Marit Bachmann, in all the palaver, has jumped up to 6th place, and 007 is relegated down to 7th. Very appropriate to have 7 and 7. I'm sure he'd rather his car was number 1. Here's Mike David Altman taking a very wide line, and Jan Philipp Springhoff going, I'll have some of that, thank you. Springhoff up into 4th.
That was Altman failing to notice that full course yellow had been lifted there. That's how Springhoff managed to get himself up into 4th place then. And the 007 car, as you rightly said, is demoted to 7th place. You've got a pair of CV Performance Mercedes to worry about soon if they're not careful. This is going back to green flag action, and that's how the 007 car lost the position as well. Lots of drivers quicker on the trigger than others, and it has rather shifted things around a bit.
So the stewards will be double checking the data, but it looked like the greens were out when they went, so I don't think anybody overly anticipated the start, so it all looks fair to me. Car 73 has received a black and white flag. That's a warning from the stewards for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, and that is Andre Bruchmann. There aren't many places around here you can gain an advantage while leaving the track. There is one little shortcut up towards turn 9 at the Vidal chicane. There's another track that looks to be a little bit offline. That is the 25 car, and that's Leon Vasser in the Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin. Leon just getting used to that car, having joined the team for this event.
Yes, interesting to see how Donna Munding does later on as well. He is co-driver, not just second here at the Nürburgring, but also second in the championship at the moment in the ADAC Prototype Cup Germany. They ran the sprint circuit here as well just a couple of weeks ago, so he's got some track-relevant experience, albeit an LMP3 car, slightly different from a GT4 Aston Martin.
Indeed. And wealth of useless information to my right. So here we carry on. We are 43 minutes into this race, and we are about 8 minutes, 8.75 minutes, 8.5 minutes away from the pit window open. You just saw the number 10 car, Patrick Steinmetz. He's not even bothering trying to take the chicane, is he? Had a very poor qualifying session this morning. Had come to the Nürburgring with lots of ambition, and I haven't had the chance to ask him what went wrong in qualifying. He started at the back. He's worked his way up to 20th, so that BMW is clearly very dialed in, and he is moving on up in the Schubert Motorsport BMW into 10th place, and now, not into 10th place, number 10 into 19th place, and now challenging Matev Pavlicek in the KTM Crossbow, who is in 18th place.
And ahead of that as well, Andronako is already up to 14th position now. Vincent Andronako cooking on gas in the 22 car, recovering from that drama we saw at turn 3 in the early stages. And, well, we've seen him take a win from, what was it, 17th at Offersleben. I don't think a win is on the cards, but we'll see how far that car can get.
He says, you think? Vincent Andronako, who comes from the Win It or Bin It school of driving, and he normally either ends up in a very high position or has a crash trying, but he is a massive, massive talent in GT4 racing. We continue to focus on Patrick Steinmetz using all of the track, perhaps a little bit more in his efforts to get past Matev Pavlicek for that 18th position. At the front, Lenez continues to stretch his legs. Now Steinmetz finds that gap. It really was only a matter of time, and I have a feeling the race stewards might have something to say about the way he's taking that chicane, because he's not really taking that chicane. He's just straight lining it, but he's made up another position. Good on him, Patrick Steinmetz. He did say a couple of races ago he's prepared to get his elbows out and scratch the paintwork a bit, and he's proving that point still continues as he moves forwards in the number 10 car. And now Matej Pavlicek coming under pressure. Now, who is that behind? That is the number 95, and that is Nico Handke. Another of, I mean, basically, if it's an Aston Martin, if you guess it's ADAC Motorsport, you're probably going to be right, because there's so many of them in this race. Here's a replay of Steinmetz. Check this for a bit of aerobatics. And one wheel up, and he still makes it to the right side of the bollard. So I guess he's within track limits. And testing the suspension of that BMW, I think.
Yes, well, you know, at the end of the year, that M4's obsolete. They'll have a new one, so I guess speeds it up in 2022. You've got a new one for 2023.
Yep, and he's still got 2 more rounds after this race to do with it. Sachsenring and Hockenheim. The incident between cars 15 and 95 is under investigation. It says for overtaking. I think that's meant to be overtaking under a yellow, because our timing screen isn't long enough. But that is between car 15, which is Yves Volta, and car 95, which is Nico Handke. They are a long way down the order at the moment, 20th and 21st to be precise. So we will keep an eye on that and let you know if there is any more news on that front. The news at the front is that Marcel Lanez continues his march, 7.7 seconds to the good of Nikolai Moller-Madsen and Gabriel Piana in 3rd place. So we've got ex-champions in, or indeed defending champion in 2nd or 3rd place, and then Jan-Philipp Springhoff in 4th ahead of Mike David Allman, who is holding on for all he's worth to that 5th place, expecting to see a stronger performance from the number 24 car tomorrow when that success ballast has been jettisoned, and not a moment too soon, I should think. That's Christian Koch in the number 26 car. He's down in 15th. Just look and see who's around him, and that is, oh, it's an Aston Martin, isn't it? Yeah, there's a surprise. So that would be Lachenauer, the number 99 of Konstantin Lachenauer, the Swiss driver for Speed Monkeys, who is also under pressure from the 25 car, and Leon Wasserferrer clearly getting to grips with that Aston Martin nice and quickly.
Yeah, some of these drivers just pick up a car and go, don't they? It's very impressive watching some of these competitors who just seem to be able to get a seat insert, hop in and go for it. Side by side for the 10 Schubert car once again. The Steinmetz attempt at getting into the top 10 continues. He's got quite a way to go yet, but he has gotten past one of the Mercedes there in the process. In fact, that would have been one of the Astons, apologies. That would have been Wasserferrer. But nonetheless, Steinmetz continues to work his way through for Schubert Motorsport. Good stuff from him.
This is Stefan Bastanciev trying to recover from that earlier incident that saw him onto the grass. Ahead of him is Max Kronberg in 12th place. And I don't know what Stefan Bastanciev's got to do to get some good luck, because he is so rapid. That car is so rapid. And Kronberg showing no respect at all for the chicane, as indeed is anybody. But more so for Kronberg, getting a little bit airborne. Bastanciev saying, what anything you can do, I can do as well. Following him across the chicane. But Bastanciev looking at the 12th place, but behind him is Vincent Andronacco, the oncoming tsunami, who is also recovering from an earlier incident, and he is moving on forwards. Of course, the pit window will be opening in less than 3 minutes, and all of these drivers, within 10 minutes of that window opening, will be coming in for a tea break, and their co-drivers will be taking over. It's Marcel Lanez crossing the line, and he has a monstrous gap. Let's just have a look at what that gap is over second place. We have to wait quite a long time for Nikolai Moller-Madsen to come along, as you were, 8.893. So that is a very comfortable lead indeed. Marcel Lanez, all being well, should be able to pit at leisure, hand over to Cedric Pirro and come out and retain that lead once the pit window closes. Right, here we go again. Max Kronberg coming under pressure. Stefan Bastanchiev, here he comes in towards turn one. Bastanchiev, who is going to slow the Porsche down? It looks like Kronberg has got the line at the moment. Bastanchiev going to go the long way round. Is he going to cut back to the inside? He does just that. He has a line, but Kronberg still holding on to that position. Here comes Bastanchiev again, the number 23 car, and it is the young Bastanchiev against the slightly older Max Kronberg. It is youth against, I don't know about wisdom, but Kronberg in that 12th place. Bastanchiev practically pushing him round the corner. Here we come again. Bastanchiev showing what he's worth in the Overdrive Racing Porsche, taking to the outside line, hanging it out wide. Kronberg going out wide. If he goes out too wide, Vincent Andronacco is going to be through. It's three Porsches running together. Suddenly, Bastanchiev's through, and Vincent Andronacco also following through in the gap. Kronberg somehow muscles it back, closes the door. Andronacco once again running side by side. They make contact, and Kronberg goes spinning through the billboard, keeps it pointing in the right direction. Mind out, everybody behind. Gets off the racing line. Max Kronberg, well, if he hasn't got any damage from that, it will be a surprise. He is going slowly. Here's a replay. They go side by side, and I have to say, it looked to me like Andronacco swerved in, not Andronacco, sorry, Kronberg swerved into Andronacco by my reckoning, so not entirely sure. The BWT banner gets trimmed, edited down just a little, and Kronberg spinning around and drops down the order, and and I don't know if that was the finger or whether he was just says, I'm going to first place, but that looked like Vincent Andronacco perhaps showing his displeasure out of the window. Kronberg maybe showing his displeasure and doing a little pirouette. It looks like he's managed to, well, he hasn't got collected by anybody. The question is whether he's got any damage. Pit window is open. And very shortly, these cars will be coming in. I think Kronberg will be very happy to hand whatever's left of that Porsche over to Hendrick still. Looks like it's still running in the right direction, but he has lost an awful lot of position on the track.
He's lucky there that often when you have side-on-side contact like that, especially something that major, you could end up with a toe link issue or something like that. But the 89 car of Pavlicek, the KTM, is going no further. It's had damage for a while. That's still the same damage that we see on the screen.
This is turn two. This, I think, is going to bring out a full course yellow.
Right.
Because the pit window is open, if they can possibly help it, as we look at a replay of what we've just been watching, if they can help it, yes, it is a replay. If they can possibly help it, they won't bring out a safety car while the pit window is open, because that has massive implications. Into the penalty box goes the KTM Crossbow, even though he hasn't got a penalty. So there may well be a full course yellow to retrieve that KTM Crossbow, because I'd suggest he's in a vulnerable position.
In a vulnerable position, but also near an access road, so we'll see what they do. Pit window open, as you've said. Cars in for the first time now, and looked like a gearbox issue to me for that KTM. You could see him shifting, trying to find a gear, and there wasn't one forthcoming for Pavlicek, a car that had already been in the wars, unfortunately, also taking an early bath.
So you can see the indications at the side of the drivers' names. There is a minimum pit stop time that the drivers should be in the pits, 95-second minimum pit stop time. If the drivers go below that time, they will pick up a penalty. You have the light grey P at the side of the driver's name to say they haven't pitted. The dark grey P means that they are or have pitted. If the P goes red P is always bad news. It means they've gone below the minimum time limit, and they may well almost certainly pick up a penalty. Tano Neumann, Joachim Bolting are doing the driver change. The number 9 Overdrive Racing Porsche is Bolting handing over to Neumann, another of the Bulgarians, and a very strong combination they are. That is Yevgen Sokolovsky handing over to Christopher Ruhner. A number of the cars in, none of the leaders prior to the pit window opening. My theory about full course yellow hasn't come to pass yet. What the race steward might well do is wait until the pit window is closed and actually bring out a safety car if necessary, or it might be they can get that car moved. Here come more cars into the pit lane for their mandatory stop and driver change. Here comes Stefan Bastantiev. He deserves a little lie down after a lively first half. He'll be handing over to Pavel Lefterov. And who's that behind? Oh, that's the number 33 swap of Daniel Schwerfeld, who's taken from Axel Sartingen. That is Christian Koch in the number 26 car, handing over to Tom Kiefer. There's Max Kronberg. He definitely will need a lie down after this one, handing over to Hendrik Still. The mechanics not only checking tyre pressures, but actually checking there are still 4 wheels on the wagon. Heavily regulated are the pit stops as we look again at that moment that Kronberg had, getting together with Vincent Andronacco. And
sorry, apologies. I was going to say, I did mention that a tow link could have been broken in such an incident.
Yes.
Can you not see me there out of Andronacco? But I'll tell you what, the wheel alignment definitely was done there. Looking at Kronberg's car and with the mechanic looking at it, that wheel's definitely not pointing the same way as the other rear tyre.
It did cross my mind whether Hendrik Still would actually get behind the wheel of that car at all this afternoon. Vincent Andronacco's still out on track. He's still disrespecting the fact that there's a chicane there, just going straight over it. I'd say good to him. If the car will do it and it's within the rules, go for it. Now, there is the minimum pit stop time, but it's just wondering if there is more to this. No, well, it looks like it is going to be Hendrik Still who joins the race. He'll be saying to Max Kronberg afterwards, thanks for nothing, mate. And oh dear, Vincent Andronacco may have been the one who got the damage out of that collision, because he is parked up at the side of the track. Leo Pichler is not going to get a run this afternoon. That car is going no further. Such a shame. Vincent Andronacco had done such a good job, and I still think that when this pit window closes, if not before, we're going to get a safety car or full course yellow, because we now have 2 cars stranded out on track.
Of course, we saw a similar situation at Oschersleben in the first race weekend of the year. There were a couple of cars stranded that then got collected under safety car at the end of the window, and well, he clearly realised there was an issue, decided to call it a day. If anything, he's picked a very wise place to do it, but it's a huge shame for Vincent Andronacco, who'd been working very, very hard indeed to get back up through the order.
Can we hear what actually is happening here? So he pulls up and looks like he tries to get reverse.
Yeah, the engine is still running, but it wasn't at all on song, was it? It's,
you wonder whether there was actually the transmission damage of some sort. Yeah, apologies for any bad language there. For those of you watching English, that was... Oh, blast was the translation of that, but you just show how much emotion is invested in this and how much it means. And you're there all weekend. That's still the 89 car of Matej Pavlicek. That was the one that was out that we saw earlier, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah. So that is still out on track. And of course, in a KTM crossbow, you leave via a very unusual method, climb out through the roof. It's what you do in a crossbow, or it's what you do when you lose your keys and you have a sunroof. And oh, he's getting back in again. So I wonder if they're going to try and tow him at some point or the other. Quite unusual to see him getting back in the car. Meanwhile, Gabriel Piana has come under pressure, and that's Jan-Philipp Springhob, who's found a route past the BMW. So whilst we've been focusing on all the drama further back down the field, we have a change of position, and it's Gabriel Piana who loses the position. Jan-Philipp Springhob, don't know what happened there, but that was a great opportunity that he's taken into 3rd place. Piana, the defending champion, going backwards. This is the leader, Marcel Lenez, into the pits. We've also had, while all that has been going on, we've had Mike David Ortman in. He's handed over to Hugo Sassa. So this is Marcel Lenez handing over to team boss Cedric Pirot for Pirot Sports. So 2 mechanics allowed out to work on the car. Also, Pirot is out as well, ready to drag Lenez from the car as quickly as possible, get himself plumbed in, and into the Toyota Supra they will get. Here comes Springhob as well. So Jan-Philipp Springhob, he's handing over to Robin Falkenbach. Falkenbach who's taking it over from Nico Gruber, who was in that seat in the events leading up to this weekend. So Falkenbach, he has got an awful lot of pressure on his debut for that team. You can see that Gabriel Piana, and I thought I'd seen Mike David Altman into the pit, so he is down.
He's come a lap
down. Right, as you were, ladies and gents. Also, there is the number 18, Marek Bockman, who has not stopped. So Mike David Altman getting involved in the battle, but Hugo Sasser getting involved in the battle. You know, I'm getting confused because it still says Altman on the display on the windscreen, and I am convinced I saw the 24 car come into the pits. It just doesn't look like it's switched over to Hugo Sasser.
Yeah, it's switched over on the graphics to Sasser. I think it's just taking a moment to transfer over to the timing screen itself, but we know that car's a lap down, having already made it stop. Here comes Piana then into pit lane, as also has come the Schnitzelau machine. So we've got the last of the pit stops happening now. Less than 90 seconds of the window remain. Moller Madsen in from second as well.
So with the other drivers pitting, it was Moller Madsen who had the temporary lead, handing over to Finn Zulauf. And hugs are exchanged. And is that...
Marcel Inez.
Yes, it is. Yes, that was Marcel Inez. So congratulations from the team. The Toyota GT4 GR Supra has had one podium this year, has not had a win, looking very strong indeed if they can carry on doing what they're doing. The last of the stoppers in. Look at Sandra Holzum's display. The number 97 car has got a red P next to it, currently showing in 17th position, and has gone over the pit stop according to our timing screens by about 2 seconds. So there is almost certainly a penalty incoming for Sandro Holzum in the 97 car. The Holzum twins, of course, sharing that car, doing a great job for Dur Motorsport, but they clearly have gone below the minimum pit stop time.
It is worse than that, isn't it? Because a 95-second pit stop, and that's a 1 minute 27 on the screen, thus 87.4. So he'll have missed that by 8 seconds, which is going to be a much heavier penalty.
Well, we do know that race director Sven Stopper is trying to phase out drive-through penalties in any way that he can, and to use the penalty box. I predict that this will be a drive-through penalty, because I don't think he'd have to visit the penalty box every lap for the rest of the race to make up that one, I should think. So I expect there will be a drive-through penalty coming the way of Sandro Holzum, which is a real shame. We've seen the swap over, Mikael Schrey taking over from Gabriel Piana. Let's see where he joins in relation to our race leader.
Of course, what you're seeing there is a tyre off of Piana's car before it got handed over. So they must have felt they had just cause to remove a tyre, because we saw it happen during the pit stop there, and a tyre was taken off the car.
Yes, and of course tyre changes are not permitted unless there is damage to the tyre. There we go. There's the drive-through penalty that we thought there might be for Holzum in the 97 car for that pit stop time. So that is curious that a tyre was changed. There would have to be proof that the tyre was not going to make it to the end of the race for them to be allowed to do that. To repeat, tyre changes are not allowed in ADAC GT4 racing. So let's have a look at Cedric Pirot, who leads the way from Finn Zulauf and Robin Falkenbach, with Marcel Malchowitz and Hugo Sasser. So we're going to cross the line now, and we'll see what the gaps are. I think that Pirot will have a very healthy lead. It certainly looks like a healthy lead. He's got enough time to stop for take another pit stop at this rate. So across the line he goes. We've got the full course yellow coming, as we thought might happen, as the pit stop window closes, and this is exactly what we thought they would do. Wait for the pit stop window to close, therefore not disadvantaging anybody. And now full course yellow, the cars are brought down to 80 kilometers an hour. And now they will retrieve various stricken machines, amongst them the number 22 car that was parked up by Vincent Andronaco, the number 89 KTM Crossbow, which had Matej, no, it didn't have Matej Pavlicek. Yes, it did have Josef Knopp or Matej Pavlicek, one of the two, at the wheel. That's out on turn 2, and the number 69 car, which I think is already to safety, the Fildur Aston Martin, I think that was already in a safe place. So the full course yellow, and it's so good to see the race steward just making sensible decisions. In years gone by, you would have seen races completely thrown because a safety car comes out halfway through the pit stop window, and suddenly the drivers that have pitted and the drivers that haven't pitted have a massive difference in advantage and disadvantage. So I have to say, congratulations to our race stewarding team, because it really is great to see, you know, such good decisions being made in the interest of safety.
Yeah, always good to see innovations on that front, and the penalty lap also a very clever idea as well, because that does mean that if you do something that is really very minor, you don't end up losing 35 to 40 seconds. However, I think we may be seeing the threshold applied here. The fact that 8-second short stop was given a drive-through penalty, perhaps is a bit over the line, even for race direction.
Yes, I think there will never be a day when drive-through penalties are not there at all, but certainly Sven Stopper is said in an interview this week that he wanted to use it as lesser time as possible and use penalty laps for the sake of keeping it equal. There is Cedric Pirot crossing the line. Let's have a look. It was 7 seconds lap time. Of course, we were under full course yellow then. Here comes Finn Zulauf, who has taken 2 seconds out of that lead. So he has anticipated the restart better. Then comes Robin Falkenbach, who is some 5, I did say 7 seconds. That's actually just refreshed to 5.5 seconds between Pirot and Zulauf. And then another 5.5 seconds back to Falkenbach in 3rd place, and then Marcel Marchevitz, and then Hugo Sasser in 5th, Roman Leroux in 6th, Theo Overhaus in 7th, a good job from him and Julian Hanses. Then the Ferdinand Winter car, number 84, Gabriel Jakova in 9th, and Michael Schrey. That BMW has not come out of this well. The number 1 defending champion were podium contenders for much of the race, and they have dropped back as a result of that. Here comes Sandra Holzem for the drive-through penalty. The number 31 car, Finn Zulauf, is under investigation for speeding under a full course yellow, and this might be another penalty incoming. You wouldn't normally investigate it unless there was some serious evidence. So 2nd place, Finn Zulauf, also under investigation. We'll keep an eye on that. And it is a penalty lap for Finn Zulauf. So he will have to visit the penalty box, as we see somebody just picking up some dirt. The penalty box is off the racing line on the exit of turn 1. It's a 200-meter box, and he will have to pass through that at no more than 50 kilometers an hour for 1 lap, and that will be his penalty, and that will almost certainly allow Robin Falkenbach up into 2nd place.
Well, it's not often you see a steward decision made in less than a minute, but it did take all of 40 seconds for them to confirm that penalty lap needed to be applied. It's a penalty lap that he has now served. Now, will he stay in 2nd place? Where is Falkenbach? There he is. Wow. So he does stay in 2nd place to Zulauf. That 5.5 seconds or so that he had previously proves to be enough, but the gap has shrunk considerably. Of course, for Cedric Pirot, it's grown exponentially. The team boss is going to be very delighted. Oh, wait, that's him.
He really is. And ain't I the doom-monger? I really thought the Falkenbach would get past. Just shows how much I know, doesn't it? So Zulauf, really no major harm done, apart from not being able to challenge for the lead. I think it's fair to say that without any dramas, I don't think he was ever going to catch Cedric Pirot anyway. So Finn Zulauf continuing on his way in 2nd place. We're looking at Marcel Marchevitz closing in on Robin Falkenbach. So 1 minute I was saying that Falkenbach was going to have 2nd. Now there's every possibility possibility he might end up in 4th. To remind you, Falkenbach has parachuted into that seat in replacement of Nico Gruber at this event. He is an experienced driver in GT4 as we lose Paul Orel-Koenig, so one of the Team Speed Monkeys Aston Martin cars. Of course, Paul Orel-Koenig, who was alongside Vincent Andronacco in the Team Allied Racing Porsche at the start of the season, has jumped across to an Aston Martin with Team Speed Monkeys. Has not been as successful a combination at the moment, but they have only done one event together prior to this, and that was Zandvoort, so still plenty of result to come from that car, I've no doubt, but it ain't going to be in this race. The number 99 car into retirement.
Big shame there to see the Speed Monkeys car out, rather aping the result for Ben Durr as well. Oh, goodness me. The 18 car, proper Dukes of Hazzard stuff, this, isn't it? Just taking jumps.
I think it's appropriate at the Nürburgring, because this reminds me of the Nordschleife in the old days when the Formula 1 cars used to get all 4 wheels off the ground coming up over the hill. Of course, well, sadly, we're not using the Nordschleife this weekend. That would be fun, wouldn't it? But nobody's told Martovic that, and he's getting airborne in the number 18 car.
It is something, isn't it? It reminds me of Zandvoort last month as well. We had quite a lot of bumping and through the turn 5 and 6 there. It was very ripply, the tarmac, and you saw the sparks flying. Certainly sparks flying, suspensions and vertebrae tested at turn 9 and 10 here. And let's see what Martovic can do about Falkenbach ahead of him.
Well, Falkenbach has been given a warning for that very corner and for disrespecting track limits. It's a black and white flag at the moment, which is just a warning, but if he continues on that line of driving, he is going to pick up a penalty. So the stewards have had a word with the number 8 car that is currently running in 3rd place. It's the number 18 car that you see challenging him in 4th place. Looking to the inside, switches back to the outside into turn 1. They both managed to get it slowed down into the corner, and Martovic taking a tighter line out of turn 1 into turn 2. Remember, the surface changes here, the grip changes, can catch the drivers out, and Martovic seems to have the better traction on the inside, sees a giant gap on the inside of Robin Falkenbach, and the 3rd position is stolen away. Falkenbach at the moment off the podium. Can he get it back again? Quarter of an hour left.
Yes, well, it's going to take an effort, isn't it, from Falkenbach. Martovic was looking likely there for the last 2 or 3 laps. All indicators suggest that the pace is with that Schnitzelhelm car and Martovic. However, weirder things have happened, and Falkenbach could yet challenge. Of course, if Zulauf is caught by Martovic, we could end up with a 3-car battle. If they start scrapping with each other for second, could allow Falkenbach back in.
Whilst that's all going on, I'm looking at championship implications. Of course, our championship leaders are going to score nothing in this race on account of the fact that Phil Dorr hasn't made it to the end. As we look again at further battles down the field, that is Tanner Neumann, who gets a little bit of a nudge from Roland Fröser. And Fröser, who's actually sitting in the seat that Marcel Martovic was at Red Bull Ring. So musical chairs going on with the cars. Back to the point standings. By my reckoning, if things stay as they are, Hugo Sasser and Mike David Ortman would move, if not to the top of the points, somewhere very close to it. Just consistently being there, and still we see the number 10 car in the battle, as you saw him just disappearing off screen. It was the number 10 was Patrick Steinmetz, of course, originally. He's now Michael von Zabienski, back down in 17th place. So the pit stops have not been kind to the Schubert Motorsport BMW. Another car that's been in the wars, the number 6 car, that has Tom Wood at the wheel. Of course, that earlier incident at the start with Ewan Mackay at the wheel of it, and they are fighting for 17th place. Michael von Zabienski and Tom Wood running side by side. It goes in the favour of Tom Wood. Daniel Schwerfeld behind, also challenging, and lots of positions behind. Jostling going on. They're not even in the points. They don't give up for anything, do they?
Good to see Tom Wood get that far back up the order, actually. At one point, with Ewan Mackay at the wheel, the car was some 8 seconds off the tail of the pack after that incident on the start-finish line at the very beginning of this race. So the fact that they've got back into the pack, gone through the pack, and are now in 17th place is rather good going.
Tom was saying on Friday that they wanted to do GT4 Germany because it is the toughest series, GT4 series in the world, and it is the best possible training ground, but it is so tough, and they know that the difference between winning and coming absolute last is so little, and just that little moment on the start was enough to take them out of contention for a podium position. You're looking at the number 20 car coming through there. That's Denis Bulatov, the man who has the longest ever stop-and-go penalty that I've ever witnessed. He is down in 25th place at the moment. Juliana Holzem was ahead of him, but of course the Holzems have been in all sorts of problems, particularly with that penalty. But here comes the number 6 car once again at the front of that queue. Tom Wood, Michael von Zabienski in the number 10, Daniel Schwerfeld, Tano Neumann, Tom Kiefer, and the Roland Frusser car, which is another the Schnitzelam Racing Mercedes. At the front, Cedric Pirot has opened up his lead to 11 seconds, give or take a couple of thousandths.
It's a very impressive performance from the Toyota crew, isn't it? The sole Toyota Supra on the grid this year. I dare suggest a Supra GT4 might be on a couple of team shopping lists, though, because that car's looked strong all year long, and victory could be just around the corner.
I fancy one on my shopping list as well. A great car, Cedric Pirot putting it to good use. Of course, if they win this race tomorrow, they will have a 15-kilogram success ballast, and we'll see how that goes for them. Finn Zulauf doing a great job, having taken over Nikolai Moller-Madsen, the driver who's in the German Junior Championship in the Avia WNS Motorsport Porsche in 2nd place. Marcel Marchevitz in the number 18 in 3rd place, looking to equal. Was not actually his. The team have got a 3rd place already this season, but Marchevitz wasn't in the car for that particular one, so it will be his best result of the season. Of course, Marchevitz jumping across to the sister car, and he is alongside Marek Bochman, who did the first stint. Oh, it's all very confusing when they change mid-season, isn't it? There is the 33, and that is Daniel Schwerfeld, another real fighter who is holding off a whole queue of cars behind him. Just looking down the order. Oh, and there's still challenges going on. I won't bother looking down the order because look at this. Challenge still going on, and that is to the inside of the number 10 car, Michael von Zabienski, and that will be for 18th place.
And that's Schwerfeld trying to challenge there in the 33 Porsche Cayman, and it looks like he may have got it done. Inside for turn 1, tends to lead to a change of position, and yes, it has, squabbling further back as well among some of the other Caymans. It's all kicking off on this fringe top 20 battle, isn't it? Neumann and Kiefer very close to contact.
Yeah, Tom Kiefer in the background, as you saw him just ducking up the inside, and also Denis Bulatov we're looking at there. Here comes our leader back to the front. Look at that gap between first and second. It's Cedric Pirot ahead of Finn Zulauf. Now Zulauf coming under pressure from Marcel Marchevitz. This is for 2nd place. Marchevitz to the outside of the Mercedes. It's Mercedes versus Porsche. They get it slowed down for turn 1. Marchevitz, he has a much better drive out of turn 1. We've seen it before. He's able to take a much tighter line in towards turn 2, and he looks to have the legs on Finn Zulauf. So how long have we got? 9.5 minutes. I'm not sure Zulauf is going to be able to hold him off for that long, because Marcel Marchevitz looking very impressive. He moves to the side, ducks back to the outside of Finn Zulauf. Still not going to get through there, but able to hold a much tighter line. Finn Zulauf looking a little bit ragged as he holds on. Finn Zulauf in 2nd place. Marcel Marchevitz just hounding him all of the way, and still Zulauf holds on. The question is, how will they get on when they get out onto the pit straight? They're up towards turn 8 at the moment. Not really a spot that is famous for overtaking. Soon they'll be into the famous Vido chicane, in which they'll all get airborne, I have no doubt. But at the moment, Zulauf holding on. Marchevitz matching his every move. Now, this will be significant. Up towards turn 11. This is, well, Markovic has been so close. He said, never mind getting onto the pit straight. I want to pass you now. So onto the pit straight they come. That Mercedes doesn't even need a slipstream. It looks like he's got the legs. Now along the pit straight they come towards turn 1, flashing the lights. Still, Zulauf holds on. Is Markovic going to make a move to the inside, to the outside? He chooses the outside line. He'll now duck back to the inside, where he's had so much more grip than the Porsche in all the previous races, previous laps. Not so much here, but still holding on. Finn Zulauf doing a great job holding on to that second position.
Great defensive driving from Zulauf in the Avia-backed Porsche Cayman. He's had to make the car very wide over these last few laps from Markovic, who's been with Schnitzelhelm for a while in various different categories. He's a very potent driver. He's taken race wins pretty much everywhere he's been, and he's looking to try and move up second place here at the expense of Finn Zulauf. Can Zulauf hold on for the next 7.5 minutes? And if he does hold on to this position for a prolonged period of time, will that bring Falcon back into this fight for second place? He's still lurking there just behind the two of them.
So lining him up once again in towards the chicane and then up towards turns 10 and 11. And no, they're a bit ahead of them there. Now coming up towards the chicane. Here we go. Under the braking, and still he needs to get as close as possible. We've got a spinner. That is the 26 car. That is Tom Kiefer. So we saw him earlier on, and he's done a bit of rotating. Like to see the battle for second if possible, because I have a feeling that Markovic is going to make a move on Zulauf any second. Just looking out the window, I can see them nailed together along the pit straight. This is how it happened. Oh, there's surprise. The number 10 BMW is involved. That has been involved in pretty well every battle there's been. And the stewards will be like, okay, we'll have another look at that one and call that one up on the screens. I can tell you that the 1, 2, 3 hasn't changed. So still, Finn Zulauf is holding off Marcel Markovic. So there wasn't a challenge, at least not a successful one, into turn 1 while we were looking at that, even though they were glued together as they came past the window of our commentary position. But now that challenge is back on again, and it does seem to be that on the pit straight, that Porsche just seems to have the grunt to hold off the Mercedes, but in the remainder, particularly into section 2 of the track, Marcel Markovic has the handling on that Mercedes to get really close. Now, can he get close enough to do something about it into turns 10 and 11? Oh, there's a surprise. The incident that we just saw involving Tom Kiefer and Mikhail von Zabienski is under investigation by our stewards. But here we go again, the fight for second place. 5.5 minutes this race remaining. Across the chicane we come, and once again Markovic is glued to the back bumper of that Porsche. But it's here that the Porsche seems to have the legs. What can Markovic do to get past Finn Zulauf? Let's have a look. Along the pit straight they come. Once again, Zulauf is learning where that Mercedes is strong, and he's learning where to put that Porsche to stop him from coming past. To the outside comes Markovic, but Zulauf has a nice tight line into turn 1. There's a really weird camber in that corner, and it can unsettle the cars. It looked for a moment like Markovic was going to get through. He sees a gap on the inside of Finn Zulauf. Zulauf has the grunt and the line as he goes around the corner. Now, can he hold on? Markovic trying everything, almost pushing the car in front of him. Porsche versus Mercedes. Still, Zulauf holds on. Can he hold this on for another 4.5 minutes?
It's going to be very difficult stuff. He was practically fully sideways going through turn 3. He was correcting the car's angle of attack all the way through the corner, was Zulauf. And here comes Markovic again, tries to go around the outside, isn't quite able to do it on that occasion, but it might line him up nicely for a run down the back, not quite straight, that includes the turn 8 kink, or potentially into the braking zone for turns 9 and 10. Here comes Marcel Markovic challenging for second place. Zulauf covers the inside early, no move made yet.
And look who's closing up in the background as predicted. Robin Falkenbach says, I'll have some of that. Another drive-through penalty. Well, we said we weren't going to see many drive-through penalties. We see 2. It's not so much of a surprise. We saw the Michael von Zabienski car in the battles, and it's a drive-through penalty for him for causing a collision. He's out of the points anyway, but it's certainly not something that will improve his afternoon somewhat. So Finn Zulaf getting a bit of a wobble on under braking. And I wonder if that might be enough for Markovic to get the gap on the inside, but still, Finn Zulaf now. Markovic hanging it out around the outside. This is the better progress that we've seen for the entire race. This is the chance that Markovic has if he can just hold on, because the outside will become the inside, but he doesn't quite do it. But now Falkenbach is getting involved. Hugo Sasser wants a bit of the action as well. A 2-part car battle for second place is now becoming a 4-car battle for second place.
Zulaf drifting wide at turn 3 with all the intent in the world. He knew that if he let Markovic hold the outside line through turn 3, it'd become the inside for turn 4, and he would lose second place. So Zulaf elbows out, second place retained for now over Markovic, but he's now got a trifecta of Mercedes engined cars behind him, 2 Mercedes and an Aston Martin behind. And who is going to end up on the podium at the end of this one? We've still got 2 minutes and 20 seconds and a lap left to go. I wouldn't want to guess.
Trifecta, that's a word I intend to use more often. There we go, in this drive-through penalty, Michael von Zabienski for Schubert Motorsport. Not been the greatest stint for him, and all that work that Patrick Steinmetz did in the early parts of the race has really come to nothing. Hugo Sasser, now, if he's challenging Robin Falkenbach, that takes the pressure off Markovic just a little bit, because suddenly Falkenbach, who has his hazard lights flashing, that's an interesting one, he is having to defend from Hugo Sasser. Sasser goes wide and the hazard lights are flashing because he has a problem. So after all that hard work...
Penalty lap, that's what he was doing.
Oh, okay. Well, that hasn't... Oh, it has. Yes. That flashed up. We didn't even notice it. That's why he had the hazard lights flashing. Well observed. So that didn't come up on the graphic on the screen. So for exceeding track limits, it was Falkenbach who got a penalty lap. And that was the gift that keeps on giving. So Marcel Markovic and Hugo Sasser making the most of that in any way that they can. Cedric Pirot, 15, make that nearly 16 seconds to the good in the lead of this race. Really an utterly dominant display, and they're going to need to throw something more than 15 kilos at that to slow it down tomorrow, I should think. In second place, it's still Finn Zulaf, Marcel Markovic, Hugo Sasser. But we are looking at the other of the Pro Sport Aston Martins. That's the 48 car with Christopher Ruerner at the wheel. That is not on the same lap as our race leader. So here they come. The clock is ticking down. When the clock strikes 0, we will get an extra lap, and then the race will be over. So about a lap and 3/4 left for Cedric Pirot in the Toyota Supra. Still, this battle continues on, but now without the pressure of Falkenbach. Suddenly, Markovic is able to challenge Finn Zulaf once again. Hugo Sasser is just behind them. He hasn't quite got the legs to get involved. If Finn Zulaf does get this second place, he'll feel like he's earned it, because he has done everything to keep Markovic behind him. Is he going to lose it in the absolute closing stages of this race? How tight is this? There have been times when Markovic was in front, but still Zulaf holds on. Still Zulaf holds on. Markovic still in third.
I did not think that was going to stand. Zulaf went very, very wide trying to find the apex at turn 5. I thought it was a given that Markovic would finally get through, but it's not. Here we go, though, side by side as they approach turn 8. Zulaf has no choice but to leave him room. The Mercedes slightly stronger in a straight line as well, but he's got the outside for turn 9, the first element of the chicane. And Markovic has to pull out once again. Zulauf is holding on for dear life, but the inside for turn 11 is Marcel Markovic's, and surely now the position will change hands. Yes, Marcel Markovic has been scratching at the back of that Porsche for a quarter of an hour or more, and now finally second place is with the Schnitzelhelm driver.
Zulauf hasn't given up though, has he? Look at him into the part of the track where he has been so strong to the outside into turn 1. Is he going to do the switch back now to the inside? He's going to try it, but Markovic has this one covered off surely, but Finn Zulauf, oh, to get so close and in the last lap of the race to lose that second position. An incredible effort for the number 31 pilot. We look again at a replay of that as we're into the final lap of the race. I thought Finn Zulauf was going to get him back again into turn 1, but I think Markovic has this one covered off. It really is, as Nikolai Moller-Madsen looking on, and yeah, you may well clutch your forehead. That's what we were doing as well. Here comes our race leader, and he has got time to stop and have a little tea break before he crosses the line. He's up towards turn 9 and 10, the Vido chicane, the scene of many an incident and excitement during this race. Up towards turn 10, out towards turn 11, and out onto the pit straight for the final time. Cedric Pirot in the Toyota Supra, taking the checkered flag, and what a dominant display. And now we have the wait, the long wait for second place to come across the line. It's going to be a while yet. Marcel Markovic, he had to fight for that one, didn't he? Across into second place, then Finn Zulauf, Hugo Sassa, good job from him, into fourth place ahead of Romain Leroux. Robin Falkenbach after that penalty. Then it's Theo Urberhaus. Good solid drive from him into 7th. Ahead of Gabriel Chikova. She's in 8th. Ahead of Ferdinand Winter and Mikael Schrey, a subdued second stint. Defending champions in 10th place.
Yes, rather surprising based on Piana's form at the beginning of the race, isn't it? But 10th place, the best they could manage, and I think they're going to feel like they've left a goal open there, especially given the fact that Vildur had pulled over by turn 2 of lap number 1. Someone had an open goal and absolutely leathered the ball into the net, and that was Cedric Pirot. Having taken over a leading car, he went and built another dozen seconds worth of advantage. He could have turned left at turn 11, done a lap at the Nordschleife, and still crossed the line.
And we would have loved it if he had. 16 seconds is the gap between first and second according to the timing screens, and he was probably cruising at the end there. Great to see another manufacturer in GT4. Great to see one taking the top step of the podium for the first time this year. It's the Pirot Sports Toyota GR Supra that takes the top step of the podium.
So you see there the car's on cool down. We saw Hugo Sassa picking up some grass and other assorted remnants from the side of the circuit to try and reach weights. Lenoir's then taking the win by 16 seconds over Berkman and Markovic in the Schnitzelhelm Mercedes. A podium on their return after missing Zandvoort. Moller-Madsen and Zulauf taking third, and Portman and Sassa in the Pro Sport car. Then Durn Leroux rounding out our top 5 ahead of Falkenbach, Overhaus and Jilkova rounding out the top 8. Winter taking 9th along with Maron in the CV Performance Group 84. Top 10, but only just, unfortunately for Piana and Schrey, our defending champions. We continue down the order there. A good recovery to 17th place for Ewan Mackay and Tom Woods after ending up a long way off the back of the pack. That first lap drama, not even first lap really, hadn't even got to the first corner yet. Pre-first lap drama really set the tone for what was a dramatic motor race. Lots of casualties around the circuit, lots of cars giving up, even if the drivers had not. And a busy paddock, I suspect, on this Saturday evening to get everyone ready for Sunday.
Well, I think the stewards are going to need to lie down as well after that. A great excitement all around. And as always, the GT4 never fails to entertain. I was just trying to look. I'm trying to remember, as the memory goes at my age, whether the Toyota Supra won last year in ADAC GT4. My colleague at the side of me will do a quick scroll and find out. I have no doubt. Just trying to remember whether this is the first or second win for this car, the Supra in the ADAC GT4 Germany. The rest of the cars coming through into Parc Fermé, and great celebrations and congratulations by everybody, and the winning number 12 car, Cedric Pirot. So there you go, that is the points classification. So I said that Sasa and Altman might move to the top, and that's exactly what's happened. There's only 2 points in it, but Sasa and Altman are a formidable combination, and they move to the top of the standings. Defending champions Piano and Schrey are only 15 points adrift, and to remind you, it's 25 points for a win, so they are by no means out of it. But after this race and after tomorrow, there will only be 4 races left this season. So after this, there are 125 points available, including tomorrow. So we are getting to the second part of the season. We're into the second half, and it's starting to look like who the challengers might be, but it's hard to narrow down who is actually going to take the title. The Schnitzelam Mercedes, thumbs up, well deserved. Marcel Marchevitz, along with Marek Buchmann, doing a fantastic job, really fighting all race long with Finn Zulauf and Nikolai Moller-Madsen for the last of those positions. Yeah, I always hope they discuss it in English, but they don't, so not too sure what they're saying.
Sometimes it depends what they're saying, whether we want to be able to understand it or not, to be fair.
Indeed. Don't swear, you're on live TV. Yes, okay. So, yes, notes are compared. Did you find out whether a Toyota won last year or not?
There isn't an efficient manner of finding out, unfortunately, but I will get there.
Yeah, we have to get the coal on the burner to get the steam up for the internet here at Nürburgring. So there we go, replay of the number 12 car crossing the line for race 7 of the weekend. This is round 4 of 6. And there is congratulations, Team Schnitzelam, watching from the side. That's second place. Never has anybody worked so hard for a second place. And that was certainly deserved. And I should think Nikolai Moller-Madsen, well, they've got to be happy with that third place. It was hard fought, and certainly third is well deserved. So lots of congratulations. I don't know if that's a very tall man or if he's standing on the bike. Oh, he's standing on the bike, but they are congratulations in the pit area. And very shortly, we will mosey them up onto the podium and present them with some trophies. So, thorough entertainment, as always. We had a bit of everything. We had drama, we had collisions aplenty, and there's going to be quite a few teams with a lot of work to do overnight, ready for the second race of the weekend that takes place tomorrow. Qualifying is first thing tomorrow morning, and these cars need to have 4 wheels all pointing in the right direction for that. Here is a replay of third place Nikolai Moller-Madsen, Finn Zulauf for Avia W&S Motorsport in the Porsche Cayman 718. Second place went to Marek Buchmann and Marcel Marchevitz, even though it says third in the windscreen, it's second. That's the Schnitzelam Racing Mercedes AMG GT4. And the winner, and boy was that a win, Marcel Lanez, Cedric Pirot, the Toyota GR Supra GT4 for Pirot Sports Motor Racing, taking the win here at the Nürburgring. So there is the empty podium and champagne bottles on standby, and in just a few moments we will welcome the drivers up onto the podium to receive their trophies. So good to return to the Nürburgring, this historic, classic circuit, and one of the real highlights of the GT4 calendar. Here comes third place, Finn Sulauf and Nikolai Moller-Madsen. And now the second place for Schnitzlam Racing. Marcel Marchevitz and Marek Bockman, the two drivers that have been put together for this event. We're in differing teams up until now, and it always was going to be a bit of a super team. But the winners, top step at the podium, Marcel Linares, Cedric Pirot. And a trophy for Pirot Sport 2. It's time now for the national anthem. It was such a dominant display from the Pirot team Toyota Supra as they receive their trophies from Dr. Gert Ensner, the president of the ADAC. Bernd Zerzweg with the second place trophies. And Marco Giuschetti for the third place trophies. Yeah, so the Toyota Supra will have a weight penalty. In fact, all of these drivers will have a success penalty. Oh, Jürgen Fabry, good to see him presenting on the trophy. A trophy on the podium. It's been a long day. The weight penalties for the 1, 2, 3, it'll be 15 kilos extra tomorrow for the Toyota Supra. Second place will have a 10 kilo penalty and 5 kilos on the third place. And it will be very interesting to see whether that has any effect or not on that Toyota Supra. In particular, they don't carry the penalty in qualifying, but they do carry it in the race. As the celebrations start,